Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, the follies of bad decisions will haunt the Flyers for seasons to come. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And Lance, my friend, how are you?
I am all right. How are you?
Oh, I'll tell you what. Here's how I'm doing. I'm doing so fantabulous because I get to read another article from the great writer extraordinaire, the Guardian of the Blue Paint. What? Come on.
Yeah, I liked this one. I got some mixed reviews on it, basically because of the game with the St. Louis Blues. Everybody was saying that, oh, great, that the team won. Like, why are you putting this article out there?
We're going to get into that.
Yeah, we're going to get all into that. We're going to get all
deeply into that. And I'm going to tell you something here, folks. We are on episode 101. So with that special number, we should have a pretty special title for that. What do you think?
Sure.
All right. So Lance does not know the title of the show because I usually spring it on him.
All right.
But here we go. All right. So episode number 101 of the Hockey Writers Inc. The follies of bad decisions will haunt the Flyers for seasons to come.
I think that's correct.
I think that is correct. And when you read this article, you quite deftly point out the huge follies that Mr. Fletcher has pointed out. And a huge dose of reality has been dropped on us with your latest article, just posted to the SteelFlyers.com website just yesterday. By the way, you got to go check that out, SteelFlyers.com. Go check that out. The latest article from the great Lance Green. And if you haven't had a chance, you got to go check out the latest here because he has a laundry list of bad decisions that the Flyers have made since 2018.
Crippling almost, I would say.
I mean, and they're going to have far-reaching effects, which is the sad part because long after Chuck is gone, Uncle Chuck, right? Isn't that what we started calling him like 4 episodes ago? Long after Uncle Chuck is gone, right? We're going to have to be dealing with this. Okay.
Yes.
So let's get into it. And you point out in this article a number of players that have been, I don't want to say that the player themselves are bad decisions or the fact that they got, a really good contract. I mean, that's great. Look, we are all for the players. We all want to see the players do well. We all want to see the players get signed. We all want to see them making big bucks because when they make big bucks, they skate around and play and blah, 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 and whatever. Right? Okay. So I want to start off with not necessarily the list of names right off, but I want to know what made this article come to your head. I mean, yes, the Flyers have played in their first 12 games are 7-3-2 or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, are like 4th in the Metro, right?
Yeah, it's a tough division for sure.
Right? Who would have thought that at this point in time in the season that the Flyers would be at this part, right? Because even Tortorella came out and said that it was, that's going to be till probably like, middle of November, probably the beginning of December before the team gets it, quote unquote. Right? Well, apparently, the team is getting it more so.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think John Tortorella was an excellent hire, and it wasn't even Chuck's first choice. Okay, I don't think it was to be honest, I don't think it was any of our first choice that
Yeah, you know, that's a
we
great
would
point.
that we wanted to bring in. But I think he is proving that he was the man for the job at this point in time. The Flyers were down on their luck. They had very poor or bad habits, I should say, developed over time, and he has since come in and corrected them. He is making them, like he set out to be, tough to play against, and
Getting to that point.
more fierce, right? And he's doing so with a group of bad news bears, like I said last week. It's not a star-filled roster. It's not one that you would even think would be at the place they are in the standings, right? There's no
Right.
big name out there that you want to come watch play on this team, but it's a group of individuals that he has, Tortorella has, very hungry right now, and he has them playing exceeding expectations because they are hungry. They are going out there, they're finishing their checks, they are playing 60 minutes of hockey. They are tough to play against. And these guys are fighting for, to stay around when
He's making them accountable.
right, he's holding them accountable, and he's making them realize, hey, we got guys like Cam Atkinson coming back, and all these, other guys starting to slowly get healthy. Now, I believe Cam Atkinson skated with the team today.
This morning, yeah, he was at morning
This
skate.
morning. So, he's closer than he was for sure to coming back. And so are more of the other players. But who's going to get kicked out of this lineup? I don't think anybody does, because right now they're tough to play against. And, that in a sense is great. And I think that is what a lot of Flyer fans see. They see that hope, and they're filled with hope because they've had nothing to be overly happy about over the past few seasons. But this article that I wrote, I don't want to be on that bad or downside of things, but it's reality. With
Yeah, I
with
mean
his with it
that's yeah,
as
it's a
with
huge
his
dose of reality.
right, as good as this team is playing right now, I don't think it's sustainable for the whole season. I don't think that the lack of star power right now is going to be able to bring guys in the future. And frankly, for all the mistakes made by Chuck Fletcher over the years, I don't think that they're going to have the cap space to which to do so for the foreseeable future.
Okay,
Either.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I do see some relief coming because I think if we get to a point where we can potentially have like Ellis be, just an injury, and hopefully that can go off the books, or however that has to work, or if he never plays hockey again, he retires, or I mean,
Yeah,
however that's going to work, that comes off the books. JBR's contract is going to go away. I'm imagining that he's probably not going to get a contract renewal. Gosh, I hope not.
but I mean, all these things are talked about in this article. So I
Okay, so
mean,
let's get into this article right now because we're gonna just sploosh dive right into it. And look, I've read the article 6 or 7 times, to be honest with you, because it's so nice to finally read your articles again, Lance. I got to be honest with you, man, and it's great to finally read about the Flyers again. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's just good to read about them. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And I try not to read other people's things because I don't want to be influenced by what their opinion is. I want to be able to watch the games and pause and rewind and fast forward and pause and rewind and fast forward and watch how guys are playing. I want to be able to do that. Do you know what I mean? And formulate my own opinion. And Lance, you and I are both very much on that same page where we don't watch other people's stuff, not because we're not trying to support them, because I love to support other folks, you know what I mean, especially like Jason Martinez. And I mean, that guy is freaking amazing, and he's all over the place, you know what I mean, like you can't turn around without seeing something from Jason, you know what I mean, like, all right,
busy man, yeah.
Right, yeah, and of course, the friend of the show, Jim Jackson, and things like that. And everybody has their opinion, but I want to be able to have our own opinion. That's why I love why we do this show and why we have this. And that's why I like to read your articles, because it is kind of the same thinking of me. So it just makes me okay.
And not just, throwing my opinion out there.
It's very educated.
A lot of my articles are backed up, or most of my articles are backed up by a lot of facts, a lot of stats, a lot of, hard numbers that you may not agree with what I'm saying, but you can't dispute what I'm saying because the cold hard facts and the numbers are there.
And the tape don't lie.
Right.
Let's face it, the tape don't lie. And so, speaking of tape not lying, I know he's not the first name on your list, but I want to talk about Sanheim.
Okay.
I really do, because he gets how much?
Well, he's getting what he's making this season is 4.6, almost $4.7 million. But Uncle Chuck, be that as it may, signed him to starting next season.
Yeah.
This is hard to set out there, but 8 years, $50 million.
I mean, what?
Yeah, 8 years, $50 million. So that's a 6.25 AAV salary. That is a $1.57 million raise that he's making from right now. And guys, I got to tell you, I don't know why. I don't know why he gave him this. He is not deserving. He's supposed to be an offensively minded defenseman, but he scored 31 points last year. That, to me, is not a very offensively minded defenseman. He's a minus player.
Career minus
player. So I don't know why he gave him this. And on top of that, to sign him to 2031 is scary in my mind. And on top of that, he gave him
on the cherry on the top.
He not only signed him for that, but he gave him a full no movement clause into 2026. And then after that, he gave him a no trade clause, or he has to give up 12 teams that he would possibly be moved to until 2030. Okay. Why is Chuck handing out these no movement clauses to, random players on the team? These clauses were meant to be given to stars, to your elite level talent. Why are we giving guys that are fourth defenseman, third defenseman, maybe? And I don't think that he would be even on a good team that high. Why are we giving these clauses out to guys, and now we're going to be stuck with them? We can't trade them. If a new GM comes in after Chuck gets fired, he can't move them now. Like, he can't move them. So we're stuck with Travis Sanheim.
Unless you get some team that needs to get to the floor that needs a...
You can't. I mean, he's got a full no movement clause. Unless he says, hey, I want out of here, like, trade me. You can't do anything with him. You're stuck. He's got a full no movement trade clause. And so that in my mind is crazy. And the biggest thing on top of this is that this signing, this gross overpayment in my mind to a third or fourth defenseman on the team, you're paying him
at
almost
best.
You're paying him almost as much as you're paying Provorov now, over what you're paying, Tony DeAngelo, who's come in and played great. But not only that is, you had JVR coming off the books at the end of the season, $7 million off the cap at the end of the season. But now, I mean, you just lost a considerable amount of money. You just gave it to Sanheim, a considerable amount of JVR's money to Sanheim, and you're going to not be able to go out now and get a not star but first line offensive player next season, because you just gave the money away. And why did he feel the need? Why did Fletcher feel the need to sign him? He still had this whole season before he was going to be a free agent. All right. So why he could get hurt right now this season, just like Ellis did or somebody like that. So why would you sign him? You could have waited till the end of this summer to sign him, or end of the season to sign him. Instead, you inked him to a long contract. I don't know why you're giving him such a long deal. He's not a perennial all-star that you want to wrap up for any considerable amount of time. I'm just at a loss. And I think this is going to hurt the team for years down the road. This is what we're talking about, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, Tortorella's come in and he's put a stamp on this team, and he's changed the outlook and whatever else. But you can't tell me this non-physical 6'4", 6'5" defenseman that poke checks people as they come by and they skate right by him
and is worth pushed off the puck.
Yeah, and you can't tell me that he's worth $6.25 million a season. I can't see that. And Chuck, being Chuck, pays his players for what he thinks they will be. And I don't get why he does that. This is not a guy that was drafted, top 10 pick that you're wanting to wrap up here. He's been in the league for a considerable amount of time now. He's not developed into a top line defenseman. I don't know why you're paying him as if he's a number 2 or something. I know the cap is going up eventually, or it's supposed to in the years to come, but I just don't see why you needed to give him this amount of money. The points aren't there. He's a career minus player. There's all this stuff that you can bring up and say if his agent came and said he wants this astronomical number that you just gave him, you can say, show me why. Why should I pay him this? Like, he doesn't have any of the stats that are proving that he's deserving of that, but yet Chuck grants him their wish and gives him the money that he hopes that the player's going to be. And that is not how you're going to be a successful GM or a long-standing GM in the NHL.
I don't think he's going to see. This is the thing that kills me. And you pointed it out as well in the article, but I also think that when you look at Sanheim and you look at his game, and I know that a lot of people are hopeful. I know that a lot of people will say, well, he's had this or that. He's had some bright spots this year, which, all right, I'll give you. Okay. But the bright spots are still not outweighing the not bright spots. When you're constantly able to be pushed off the puck easily by a guy just coming up behind you and just shoving you, and you hit the deck on a regular basis, and you've just lost possession of the puck, or the fact that you're a defenseman and you won't clear the porch, or you won't do that which was done to you to somebody else.
Well, for the first 11 games at the point that I wrote this article, Sanheim had 1 point. All right,
he's an offensive-minded defenseman, right?
Supposedly.
Yeah. All right.
Playing top 4 minutes.
Games? He has
Well, now
1
that,
point.
well, yeah, at the time he had this was 11 games where I wrote
I'm
this.
sorry.
I don't think that, he has too many more now. So I don't know. I just think this whole article is about, the team this year has made major strides, and but
In spite of.
in spite of all of these moves that we're going to talk about, but this is what's going to be hindering for years to come. This is what's going to prevent them from signing or bringing up young talent, because you're re-signing all these players to long, long deals that are going to prevent the youth that are supposedly coming, that are exciting, that fans are getting excited about. You're holding up roster spots with all these guys that have been mediocre at best.
Exactly. And the fact that you continue. This article was a perfect example of why he should no longer be the general manager of this team.
Mm-hmm.
Just with the Sanheim move alone, and then, like, I'm afraid to just, all I have to do is say Ryan Ellis, because that worked out to 4 games for $5.5 million a year for the next however many years.
No, 6.25, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6.25,
yeah.
right? So you're trying to tell me that Sanheim is at the same level as Ryan Ellis when he was in his prime?
You're right.
You're trying to tell me that you're going to pay Sanheim that kind of same money when you bring in Tony DeAngelo, who's making a click less, right? He's only making 4.5 or 5 mil a year.
He's made 5,
this year, right? And he's
And
playing 100 times better.
So
Tony DeAngelo is a true this. Okay? That's all I got to say.
Well, he's from the area and all that, yeah.
He's playing to his worth of the contract.
Well,
we're not seeing that from Sanheim. And that's why we question these moves. That's why we wonder about why you're paying this guy this kind of money. I don't get it. I'm okay. Well, here's the other dome scratcher from Uncle Chuck. The very low return for Claude Giroux. It's just the whole thing. The whole Giroux thing is just a dome scratcher.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Please help me to understand. Please direct me to why I don't understand this, because I need help understanding why this was such a low turnaround for such a ultra viable player, more so than, he was one of the most coveted players in the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And I've read where Boston was willing to give up and Colorado was willing to give up. And he would have had a cup if he would have went to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
But no.
Well, sure. Let me touch on the Giroux point, and then we'll go back, since you mentioned him, go back to the Ryan Ellis point. So, yes, the Giroux trade. We all know, we were all hoping we would get a lot more for Giroux. And, we all know that he had a full no movement clause, which wasn't done by Chuck. That was previous, people that signed Giroux to that.
You would have learned on that one.
Well, I guess not. But yes, so Giroux had a full no movement clause, so he had all the cards in his hand. But a good GM should have been able to hopefully sway somebody like Giroux in a thing. And how hard should it have been to say, hey, the best team in the league, the Colorado Avalanche, want you really bad. It's a couple, it's, for a playoff run, then you can go wherever the heck you want to. Like, will you let us
anyway?
will you let us, trade you to them and hopefully you go get a cup? No, he didn't. He wasn't able to sway Giroux to agree to go to where would have best suited the Flyers, to get a return. And like you said, the Colorado Avalanche and the Boston Bruins were both chomping at the bit to get Giroux. It should have brought back a huge lucrative deal for the future for the Flyers, but Giroux held out and he said he wanted to go to Florida, which, I can't blame him. I would want to go live in Florida and play too, but I'd rather go get a cup instead. That's, here nor there. But instead, we ended up getting what? We ended up getting Owen Tippett, who I really like Owen Tippett, but to the point, he's been an underachieving player. He was supposed to be a highly talented forward who could score some goals, but he's coming along here in Philly, and especially under John Tortorella. He's getting some confidence. He's getting the chance to play with some better players, and he's starting to produce.
He's going to come along.
He's starting to produce. I really like Tippett. I've really liked him since he was playing in Minnesota. So, but what else did they get? They could have got, a lot better player, Justin Barron, who's supposed to turn out to be a first-line defensive prospect and one of the best defensive prospects in the game today. He now is playing for Montreal because they traded him anyway to try to get another piece. So, but we got Tippett from Florida. We got a 2024 first-round pick, which doesn't help us for years to come, and a third-round selection in 2023. The first-round pick is conditional anyway, but so we got nothing to help us turn around, this season and be a better team. Owen Tippett is coming along, but like I said, the team has no star players now, or nobody to really get excited about in the future, as they would have in Justin Barron. I think he's, like I said, like they're projecting, he's going to be a phenomenal talent, and he's going to be a first pairing defenseman. But in that same aspect, the Flyers took that money and they did what? They turned around and spent that $8.25 or $8.275 million of Giroux's money on paying Coots, right? They paid Coots and they paid Farabee. Farabee's deal is manageable. It's $5 million.
But I'm okay with Farabee's deal.
I'm okay with Farabee's deal because he's young.
But he's also one of the leaders in points and goals in the team the last couple seasons. Yeah. So I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. I think he'll definitely play up to that $5 million. He already led the team in goals one season. So I'm okay with that deal. But the one that I'm not is the overpayment to Sean Couturier. Now he re-signed Sean Couturier, a 29-year-old center. He's been around for a while with the Flyers, to a massive 8-year deal. Again, with the 8-year deals, why didn't he give him 4 or 5-year deal to a player that's 29 years old is beyond me. But he gave him an 8-year deal worth $62 million. And that is a considerable amount of money, because not only the money aspect of it, but the thing that really hurts is they're going to be paying him to 2030. All right. And that is when Couturier is going to be 37 years old. That's putting a lot of money in the hands of a player who's often injured. I mean, he's missed considerable amount of games the past 2 seasons, and he hasn't even played a game this season. So
he ain't gonna play.
He ain't gonna play
this season,
and he's not gonna play a game this season. So, there went that $8.275 million of Claude Giroux's money, because now you're paying considerable amount of that to Couturier, who's not even playing. And why are you paying a defensive center in my mind, that much money. I don't know. It's been 4 or 5 years since he's even hit his career high in points.
Yeah.
And now he's on a downslope. He's played a lot of games for the Flyers. He was one of those players that was able to jump right in as at a very young age and play for the Flyers.
Yeah.
And he's played a lot of games, and now it's his body's really breaking down on him for that. And now we're going to be stuck paying him because, of course, they gave him a full movement clause for 6 of his 8 years. So you can't move him now or do anything with him. And now, you're paying a lot of money again for a player that's injured already at the beginning of this contract. What is he going to be at 37 when we're still paying him all that money? That is a lot of money that's wrapped up into a player that you can't go out and spend in free agency. You can't re-sign other players with.
So all of these other, I mean, even I know that the Ellis thing is that is beyond stupid. That just goes to show that the due diligence was not done.
Right.
Why would you even remotely sign? I mean, I can understand why they paid Coots because they weren't expecting this injury. Okay. And it's a real shame that it's happened, but it kind of is going to play out to a sad ending, I think, where I think you're probably not going to ever see these two players play for the Flyers again just because of their conditions. Because we don't know. And because of the extent of and/or condition of said injured player, it's not boding well for them to be lacing it up and putting their skates back on the ice, period, right. to be a player again. So
let's talk about the Ryan Ellis thing because I got some points on that as well.
Gosh, I don't even really wanna because because it's just such a ding-a-ling move.
It was, yeah. That should have been his.
So much for a guy that couldn't even put on it. He's played 4 games.
Yeah.
Can we have Sean Gostisbehere back? I mean, seriously, at least he'll play.
Yeah. But he's not defensively responsible either. But Ryan Ellis.
Be on the ice.
Ryan Ellis. All right, let's talk about the Ryan Ellis thing. All right, Chuck, we all remember this infamous 3-team deal where we sent out Felipe Myers, a 6'6" non-physical defenseman, and Nolan Patrick, who is often injured, right? We know he's a draft bust pretty much, and he's not even playing this season because he's injured again, and poor guy, he can't seem to stay healthy.
It is a shame
because he has a lot of talent. But anyway, it is what it is. But why did Uncle Chuck think that he was able to slew these Predators into giving up a top line defenseman who's 30 years old and then at the tail end of his prime, right?
Defenseman.
Right. But he is when he's healthy for sure. But injury prone, that's the thing. Why do you think that you were able to get that for just what you gave up? All right, and anybody with any kind of sense would know that was a bad deal. But not only that, but why would you trade for a 30-year-old injury prone defenseman who had 6 years left in an 8-year deal that pays him $50 million? Okay, that's $6.25 million a season now that the Flyers have to eat. Because I don't know about you, Steel, but would you go ahead and say, I'm going to retire and give up being paid $6.25 million a season? Or are you going to say, oh, yeah, I'm trying to come back. I'm in the gym. I'm working on it. I'm going to physical therapy and collect that check from the Flyers for the next 6 years.
Well, even if they do like an opt out they can do an injury buyout.
It's going to cost them. It's going to cost them.
Yeah, no, everything is going to go against the Flyers no matter what. So they can either buy out the contracts outright. They can buy out 2 contracts a year, right? Or they can have an injury settlement to where they'll pay out to a certain, I think it's 65 or 75% of the contract, but the full contract. And they just go, here you go. Or,
Here's
whatever.
Check, yeah.
You're right. Okay. So either way, it's still gonna, and then it still counts towards a certain amount of it will still count towards the books and everything like that for a couple years to come. It's like what they did with Michael Rathje. He got the injury buyout, and he was still on the books for 6 or 7 years after he retired. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about the Ellis deal too is Chuck should have seen this coming, because and not even made the deal in the first place. Because I mean, if anybody looking at his past injury history, that the file was like this, but Ellis only played one full season of 82 games in his 10-year career with the Predators. I mean, that is a pretty injured defenseman if he's playing 50 games this year, 60 games this year, whatever else. He's only played one 82-game season where he was healthy the whole season. I don't want a guy like that. I don't care if he's, the best defenseman out there. I don't want a guy that's not going to be out on the ice for me, especially not paying him $6.25 million. But the thing about that is, everybody is congratulating Chuck and saying, oh man, that was a great move to bring in Tony DeAngelo. And it was, but let's do some math here. He only had to bring him in because why? Because he balked on the Ellis bringing him in, right?
Duh.
So then he had to go out
and get another, and trying to cover his butt.
He had to go out and get another defenseman, right? So now, instead of just having one defenseman, you're paying two, $11.25 million combined just to have a first pairing. And only one of them skating, right? Because you're paying Ellis $6.25 million. You had to go out and pay, DeAngelo $5 million so you can have a first pairing defenseman that's decent to play up there, to deserve to play up there. But now you're paying combined $11.25 million in cap space just to have one player out on the ice because you screwed up so bad in acquiring an injury-prone,
I never thought of it like that.
30-year-old defenseman.
I never thought of it like that.
He's got some huge,
thanks, Uncle Chuck.
Right? So that is not, I'm not congratulating Chuck on bringing in DeAngelo, because DeAngelo was a great, player to bring in. I like his game, but why did you have to bring him in? Because you fumbled the ball in bringing in Ellis, and that is going to cost the Flyers considerable amount of money, whether they buy him out, like you're saying, injury or contractual, whatever you do with him eventually. It's going to cost the Flyers a lot of money, either for the next few years, and it's going to be preventing them from being able to bring people in before you can put them on injury reserve, long-term injury reserve every season. So it's just another thing that's going to hinder this team from going out and getting anybody that they need to, or re-signing the players that they want to, because they don't have the cap space.
See, what I think is going to be the worst part about this is that this is going to be the next guy's mess.
Yes.
Okay, that's the worst part about all this. Right now, he's suddenly now going to be, and let's face it, it's probably going to be Danny Briere, as we are all pretty much seeing the writing on the wall. He's going to be saddled with these really big, ugly contracts. And I can't help but think that he hasn't been in the room on some of them going, guys, hey, what are you doing? Or is there somebody, there obviously needs to be somebody in the room that is able to be we can't be the only voice of reason here, people. Okay. We just can't be, because it's scary if we are, because please prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Okay. I'm going to be the first to go on record and say I've eaten a lot of crow based off of everything that I've said of Tortorella in the past, and how I believe that he is the coach of the Flyers for right now. No matter who is out on the ice, no matter if we had Coots out there or Ellis out there, or it wouldn't matter. I don't really care who would be out there on the ice right now. Where I think that Tortorella is the perfect coach for this team right now. I've been overly impressed, and I'm very often not impressed by people, but I've been impressed by his maturity and his growth. The fact that he has been all about the Flyers and not about himself. Okay. And I'll be the first to admit that I was not a fan of him coming in here, and I was not a fan of Tortorella, period, as a coach or, or anything, because I didn't like his style. I didn't like his approach. I thought it was too selfish. It was too me-centric. Do you know what I mean? And I'll be the first to admit that I'm completely, taken aback by what I've seen out of Tortorella this year with the Flyers. It gives me hope to think that he has made the team accountable. He's gotten production out of the team. He's gotten Carter Hart off to the best start of his flipping life, right? And he needs to play him more. You know what I'm saying? So this is my I'm afraid for the future kind of thing, because these are the things that are happening right now. These are the things that Chuck is doing right now that I think is going to very adversely affect the team in the long run. So with all of that, I want to say that he did make one good decision, and that was hiring Tortorella, right? So I want to talk about the first 12 games. Okay. The article points out a lot of the follies of Chuck, but I honestly think that you have to give more of the credit to Tortorella.
Sure.
Based off of what we've seen in camp and the last 12 games or 13 games we're playing tonight, but of the last 12 games as of the recording of this show, we've seen things that we maybe weren't expecting to see out of certain players. Do you know what I'm saying? And I want to just try to get into that a little bit, Lance. I want to talk a little bit about those first 12 games and where the Flyers are right now, because I think you have to talk about, number one, who do you really think, or who do you really like? So the first 12 games, who are some of the guys that have kind of come to the fore for you?
Well, I think Tortorella has been able to get both Travis Konechny and Kevin Hayes online, as they should be playing.
Well, that's a good way to put that. Online, yes.
Yes, because Travis Konechny has been off the rails for a while. Great talent offensively, but these past couple seasons he's looked like a fourth line antagonist, and that was the only thing that he was really doing or good for. Maybe drawing a penalty or something. And and that's crazy for a guy that 3 years in a row, back to back, had 24 goals before that. And now he looks like he's back on his game. He looks like he's playing Konechny's game, and it looks like he's playing the game that got him to this point in, level of play. So that's great. Kevin Hayes has been asked to step up and be a leader, production-wise and everything like that as well, with Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson and others being out of the lineup. That would be hopefully getting, some points there. But, that in my mind is a whole different issue with Hayes too, and that's been one of the follies about bringing him in and overpaying him as well, and that's going to hurt us for considerable amount of time as well. So
for sure, because he's definitely not I mean, he is more of a contributor and he's become more of a leader on the team, but he is definitely not playing up to the contract.
No.
For sure. He's playing like more of a, $4 or $5 million a year guy.
Yeah, I would think I think that should have been where he was. Chuck, Chuck brought him in. He was an AV guy, whatever like that. He gave him a 7-year, $50 million deal. That's over $7 million. He's actually getting paid the same amount that Kyle Connor for the Jets is. And, last season, Connor had 47 goals and 46 assists for 93 points. Now, Hayes has never even broken the 50-point plateau in his career. So why is he getting paid that much money? I don't know. But and that is just another thing that we're stuck paying Kevin Hayes, even though I like Hayes. I think, like you said, it would have been a better contract if we were able to bring him in for about $5.5 million, rather than the over $7 million that he is. But
front load the signing bonus and everything.
Whatever he had to do, but the AAV or the cap hit should have been that $5 to $5.5 million in my mind. But like going back to what you were saying, I really like the waiver wire pickup, which I think the Flyers are going to be stuck having to do for many years because of all these follies by Chuck. But I really like Sedlak. I really think he's come in and,
strapped it on,
provided some offense from the bottom six. And I love the way he drives the net. I love the way that he's tough in the boards. And, just it's fun to watch that line get out there and get some shots on net, lay some big hits, skate really well. And they're not a hindrance to the lineup. You're not a hurry to get your first or second line back out there. The fourth line can play some considerable minutes and are defensively responsible enough to be able to be out on that ice for those considerable minutes to give your other top three lines a rest. And that's what I really like as well. From the offense standpoint, I like those guys. From the defense standpoint, Tony's look great. I really like what he's brought to the team. I really think he's embracing playing in Philly. He's a hometown boy. He was born and raised not too far away. So I think he's loving life playing in Philly and having, his family be able to come to the games more and all that. So he's really played well. And, the system in general has gotten Carter Hart's confidence back, which is great. More defensively responsible. And like you said, being held accountable for their actions a little bit more. I know Ristolainen, who is another folly had by Chuck, of re-signing and
just rattle off,
Yeah. So, and he's even been in the doghouse and Torts' doghouse this season already. And he's come out this game that's happening as we are filming this and really laid some big hits and tried to look like his old self again. So maybe, Tortorella dragging his name through the mud. Yeah.
I know he started the year hurt, which was another thing too, that he started off hurt. I gotta say that, and I'm gonna continue to say this, love Big Mac McEwen's game. I have really felt that he has become the new Scott Lawton of the team, where you can pretty much plug him in and he will be able to flourish as long as he's allowed to play and things of that nature. I think he's taken a page from Nick Delorier, who I think has been a huge influence on this team. Okay. And has picked his spots more so than like what he did last year. Last year, man, he was just throwing down just because he was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
he was trying to make a name for. I don't think he needs to do that, but he's picking his spots now more, and he's driving the net, and he's scoring goals, and he's making good passes, and he's doing the forecheck, and I love that Tortorella is starting the fourth line for games.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, you can't look at that fourth line and go, that's a checking line, because I would say it would be more of like an energy line.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like Laviolette kind of had that thing where he didn't really have a bunch of guys that were checking guys. He had more of like an energy line for the fourth line. Do you know what I'm saying? Guys that would go out there. Yeah, there would be guys that would go out there and fight, but they were also guys that could score goals and spark the team by doing other things other than just fighting. Do you know what I mean? And so been really impressed with him. I'll tell you who else is really, really, like I said, I've really been like Del Saro's game. I've really appreciated what he's been able to do. I much rather see more of him and less of Braun all day long. If you want to have a veteran on the team, you got Nick. That's all we need. See you, Braun. I'm sorry. I just, but Scott Lawton, I've really liked how he has massively stepped up, not just his production on the ice, but his leadership and his ability to be the kind of player that the Flyers need him to be right now. Do you know what I mean? And that is what I think has been impressive. Along with, of course, TK. I really like what he's done as well too, and liking what I'm seeing out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, all good guys that you pointed out. Scotty Lawton has been a favorite of mine for years. He is that utility guy. He can play in the top six if you need him. If there's injuries, he can play in the bottom six and be productive. He's a penalty killer. He's great on the forecheck. A good leader in the locker room. Just an overall good player. He can play center. He can play wing. He does it all. And he doesn't get the respect and the financially either that he deserves, but
he should be the one making the $7 million instead of Hayes.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but yeah. He does a lot for the team for sure. And I think Big Nick has been great. Like you said, he's picked his spots. The team was down against the Blue Jackets tonight, and he picked a fight with one of the best fighters in the league, and I think he beat him up pretty good. Got the team back into it for what it was worth, and been able to pick his spots. He is better offensively this season. I think he's a great leader in the locker room as well. So all good picks by you for sure for guys that are helping out in the locker room and just out on the ice as well. So
good deal. And the last thing I have to say is the last talking point here before we get out of here, and that's the sustainability and winning. Yeah, they're winning, but I've been hearing this around the social medias and the other things that I see, and it's everybody keeps saying that water is going to find its equal or its balance, and eventually the reality is going to set in. Well, okay, so after 12 games, we've played some pretty okay teams to this point. Right now, we haven't necessarily played. We haven't played the Penguins yet, have we? I don't think we played the Penguins yet.
I believe so, yeah.
Right, and I don't think we played the Capitals yet either. Right, and we haven't played Boston yet. Right, now we have played Tampa and Florida. Now we split with Florida, and we did beat Tampa. Mm-hmm. But we haven't really. We lost to Carolina as well, too. You know what I mean? And so, but those are the teams that you need to win against, and I'm not. We have to play some more of those games and some of those teams before we can really give a full assessment on this season so far. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I agree that Carter Hart needs to play more
Mm-hmm.
because their backup goaltending situation needs to be addressed. Yeah, okay, won the other night.
It took 8 or 9 games to win one. Yeah.
Ooh, won. Congratulations. I mean, the first one's always the hardest, but way to go. But we can't. I need a guy that can come in and play those back-to-back games and win some of them games more so than not win those games. You know what I mean? So, but yes, we're winning, but can this be sustained? Will reality set in? I mean, we see how this is going. We see the number of block shots. We see the team being outshot every night.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But do you think that this is going to balance out here?
Well, I think a number of thoughts on this. To touch on the goaltending situation, yes, I wrote about it a week or so ago. I think they need to start Carter Hart more. If he is getting paid to be the guy, he needs to be the guy. Let him play 60 games a season at least. It's not going to be sustainable if you keep going back to Sandstrom. I don't think he is an NHL goaltender. I think he is a guy who makes the stops that he's supposed to make. He doesn't make the stops that will keep them in games. He doesn't make the miraculous stop that is going to keep them tied or keep them ahead, by a goal.
He's not a clutch goalie.
He's not an NHL goalie. An NHL goalie, even an NHL backup goaltender, will come in and make that 1 or 2 stops a night that keep them in it, and he doesn't yet. He may do it in time, but he doesn't do it right now. And as far as the overall sustainability or the outlook on the team's future here, I think they have come out. Tortorella has gotten this team in shape out of camp, and they surprised a lot of people early. I think that will wear off as other teams now are starting to get up to speed. And like you said, they will play more teams. I don't believe Tampa is the team that they were last season or the past few seasons because they are missing, one of the best defensemen, underrated defensemen in NHL, and I think should be an NHL Hall of Famer, and Ryan Callahan one day. And Jan Rutu did a lot for him as well, and he's since moved on from that team as well. So their team has a lot of holes. When you've been that good for so long, you can't pay everybody. So they are not the team that they once were. And Florida isn't the team that they were last season even. Tkachuk's a great player, but he's got to really get going in the East Coast. He hasn't played these guys before too much. He's been playing, the West Coast side of it. So it's going to take some time to get that. So those two teams aren't the teams that they were last season. Carolina, we saw what the Flyers did versus Carolina. Wasn't very, great outlook there. So once you play these teams like Pittsburgh, Washington, that really have had our number for the past 10 seasons, we'll see more what it is. But as far as sustainability, I think the Flyers are going to be that mediocrity team all over again. They are under Tortorella. He almost has this team playing too good right now, in my mind. This team does not have a star on the team. They don't have a star in sight coming. I like Cutter Gauthier, but I don't think he's that face of the franchise type guy that we need, that we haven't had in so long. Even with Claude Giroux, I don't think he was a face of the franchise type player. He is a pass first guy. I want a guy that's going to score 40, 50 goals a season, and they're hard to come by. So where do you get that? Where do all the other teams that have those? You have to draft it. You have to draft it, right? The Oilers stunk it up, so they got Connor McDavid. They got the Draisaitl's through stinking it up for years. Pittsburgh got all their guys from stinking it up for years. All the good teams built through the draft. And the Flyers are going to be good enough this season to play themselves out of a lottery pick and get that 15th pick overall, not make it to the playoffs, but be on that outside of the playoffs, or maybe that wild card spot and get beat in the first round if they are able to squeak in and screw it up, right? The Connor Bednard sweepstakes is going to be out the window, I think, which if the team's going to stink, let's stink for a couple of years. And this year would have been a good year to stink because Adam Fantilli is out there. Jager's out there. Jager's out there. Yeah, I like a lot of players. I like a lot of players in that top 5 to 10 player draft of this draft. And it would have been great to have one of those players, to try to get one of those players to come up, because like I said in this article as well, one of Chuck's major flaws in his system has been his draft picks. A lot of draft picks have been made, a lot of names, Cam York and all these guys that were such great players, Zade Wisdom, Bobby Brink, Ronnie Attard, Forrester, Andre, Elliot Dejournay, Tumala, Kaplan, all these great players that sound good on paper, but none of them, Cutter Gauthier, top 5 pick, not playing with the team. Other people inside the top 5 made it to the NHL or are playing in the AHL already, but not Cutter Gauthier. So
why?
Not one player in Chuck's tenure, now Chuck has been here since 2018, is playing a mainstay position in the NHL yet, and that is a problem. That is a problem. Cam York has had 33 games. That's the best of any player drafted by Chuck so far in the NHL. But where is he playing right now? He's playing in the AHL because he had a horrible camp and didn't step up like Tortorella was hoping that he would. So no player that Chuck has drafted has made it to the NHL and playing. And those 33 games last season and the season before that played by Cam York, he played once the team realized they weren't going to make it into the playoffs and were tanking basically for a better draft spot. So I don't even really give credit to Cam York for that. He didn't earn that spot. They gave it to him so he could get some time playing in the NHL and they could see what he could do. But when he was given a chance, he hasn't really played to that level. And I'm not just talking about Cam York, but that is the one player that hasn't had any success at playing in the NHL so far. So that is a big thing too. Not only has Chuck Fletcher went out and really hurt the Flyers for the foreseeable future with horrible contracts signed for
financially,
7 or 8 year deals that are going to be to injured players, to players that are well paid over their worth. And I think even the Ivan Provorov deal that I didn't even talk about in this article, it kind of hurts the Flyers as well too, because he's a player that the Flyers have come out and said that's not untouchable because he's not playing up to their standards. So I think beyond that, the drafting and that he since 2018, you should have hit on somebody that could have made it to the NHL. Yeah, Brink has played great last season in the NCAA, but he's hurt this season. So not one player has been able to make it out of your drafts yet to the NHL. And you've had quite a few of
30 some guys.
Yeah.
Right. So if you average 7 picks a season, right, and he's been here since 2018, right? So that's 4 seasons, right? So that's at least close to 30 guys, right? At least 25 guys at the very least, right? And you would think that out of 25 of those guys, one, and you've even had a 5th overall pick, and he's not even on the team. He's
and you didn't
signed.
You didn't sign him, and you didn't at least let him play in like the first 9 games, to see if he could be good enough to stay in a lineup that doesn't even have that has so many injuries. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah. Look, it's like we said, we desperately want this team to win. We desperately want to have, positive and uplifting shows. We've tried to talk about the good, but there's too many missteps and too many things that have happened to get us to the point where we're at right now, to where we're going to be stuck with getting these waiver wire guys over the next couple of years, because we're not going to have the cap space. We're not drafting good enough players to even make it to the NHL. So our future doesn't look bright because we don't have anything in the cupboards to come at,
I'm sorry, but
how does this guy still have a flipping job?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think as good as this team is under Tortorella, the fact that we got to get excited about a player like Sedlak coming in off the waiver wire, like that's sad. That's sad because, I mean, a first-round pick from 40 years ago should be playing in the NHL.
But if you go look at Elite Prospects, the website, right? And you go and look at the 2018 draft.
2019 draft. Yeah, all those. Right. Yep, same thing. Yeah.
The whole front page, right, is covered with guys that have already played multiple or at least 1 or 2 seasons in the NHL, right? Mm-hmm. All except the Philadelphia guys.
Says something about the team's development, right?
I'll tell you what, though, what we have developed is a really awesome show for you guys. We're episode 101 here, and it's great to be having the Guardian of the Blue Paint back, writing articles again and posting them out there. And I got to tell you, man, I chomp at the bit for the next one. You know what I mean? It's like, and I get more excited about each one that comes out. And folks, if you're not following this guy, if you're not reading this guy, then you're really missing out on some really awesome professional stuff here. You got to go to SteelFlyers.com, check out all of his articles are all there. And the Hockey Writers Inc., man, I tell you what, you got to go check out the web page. It looks great. Hockey Writers Inc. It's SteelFlyers.com/links/hockey hyphen writers hyphen Inc. / So go check that out. That's SteelFlyers.com/links/hockey writers Inc. Got to go check that out. And I got to tell you, folks, Lance, you write out the great articles. Why don't you tell them where we can find you?
Sure. So, always you can find me on SteelFlyers.com. And you can find me on Twitter at LanceGreen39. Now, if you guys like our writing and our show here, we did also start a new podcast called Prospect Watch, and it focuses solely on just that. Great young talent, great prospects. So check that out as well. If you like and follow this show, you may get hooked on that one as well.
For sure. And big thanks to Spreaker for all the great stuff that they do, because without them we wouldn't be able to be out on all the great platforms. All you have to do is go to iHeartRadio or Google or Amazon or Spotify or Apple and type in Hockey Writers Inc. and we pop up, and hit the follow and give us a good rating on there. That helps to get us ranked a little better. So we really appreciate all that, and hit the like and subscribe, and we really appreciate that too. And go check out the webpage at SteelFlyers.com. I'm your co-host, Steel Flyers, and you can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Lance, thanks for another great show, brother.
No problem. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. We'll see you guys on the next Hockey Writers Inc.